Oh, we are going old school this week. No time for puppetry, no time for silly games. Welcome to week 12 of the BPFFL. Johnny's back! You gotta admit, you gotta be asking the question, why no puppet? Well, very simple. The sheer amount of mathematics involved this week makes understanding what's going on in the BPFFL and manipulating a puppet completely undoable. So we're going to go over week 12. We're going to be blunt, we're going to be frank, we're going to be live. Now, I've been writing notes all week long to get ready for this. And we're going to do reverse order. Normally the marquee matchups are at the end, the tiny matchups are at the beginning. But we can't do it this week because this is week 12. This is playoffs. This has been one of the most unusual weeks in BPFFL history. Let me get you all up to speed. Let me make sure you're all on board with me. For the first time in league history, ever, and this is a long-standing league, very long-standing, we've had a season where in week 1, a brand new team, the Buffalo Bee-Waxers, emerged out of nowhere. We have the first ever year where there has been 0 trades between any teams. No trades made as of this moment, noon p.m., Saturday, week 12. Nothing. And on top of that, here's the kicker, for the first time ever in this league's history, we're going into week 12, not a single team has been eliminated from playoff contention. Do you understand what that means? Absolute chaos and anarchy. So we're going to go frontwards, backwards, and backwards forwards to try to figure our way through this mess, okay? Let's start off with our first matchup. We've got the A-holes going up against the Slaughterhouse. Now, normally, under any other circumstances, this would be a dream match. The A-holes, number 1 in the global division, number 1 overall, undefeated, 11-0. They have locked up their title. Going up against the number 2 seed, the Slaughterhouse, who are 6-5. Normally, match of superpowers. What's to be different? What's to be new? Well, let me tell you something. Doesn't matter. As the number 1 and number 2 seeds of their respective division, they're both in the playoffs already. So anything they're going to be playing for will be dubious at best, psychological at worst. Preview of a final, exposing chinks in the armor of the other team, maybe. But that's not what we have to worry ourselves with this week. So really quickly, I'm going to give this one to the A-holes because they've done it before, they'll do it again. A-holes of a Slaughterhouse, 10 points. Keeping up with me, honey bunches of oats? Following along on this wonderful journey through the old school? You betcha. Because up next, we got a team matchup that I can't possibly make a pick for. And that is the Thunder going up against the Bee-Waxers. Both these teams are in the Central Division. The Thunder are the number 4 seed. The Bee-Waxers the number 2. Now, in order to put this in perspective, the Thunder is 5-5-1. The Bee-Waxers are 6-4-1. That bye week is doing a lot of bad things to these teams. For the Thunder, it's put them in a must-win position. They have to win this week against the Bee-Waxers to stave off any playoff elimination. The Bee-Waxers, on the other hand, if they win this game, depending on what happens with the Terror, who are currently the number 1 seed, depending on what happens, the Bee-Waxers might be fighting for the number 1 seed of the Central Division in Week 13 against the Terror. We'll get to the Terror in a moment, but for right now, let's wrap this up. Thunder is in a must-win situation. Bee-Waxers, number 2 seed, are safe for the moment. No pick. Up next, we have ourselves a bit of an interesting one here. We have the Roughnecks going up against Team Snicketipus. Both teams are in the Central Division. Central Division right now is a total cluster because unlike the global divisions, there's not that one team that has emerged top of the line. So the Roughnecks could possibly get in for title contention 6-5, depending on how the Hangman and B-Waxes do this week if the Roughnecks win against the Snakektopus. Snakektopus 5-6-1. That's the worst record in the Central Division, so they're in a must-win situation. Roughnecks have to be strong. Snakektopus has to be alive. And when it comes to picks this week, I'm going to have to give this one to the Roughnecks by 11, 5, 5, 1. Thought I was going to give you another finger, didn't you? But I'm going to give this one to the Roughnecks because next week they're going to have the joy of going up against the Thunder. And I think that matchup could be where the bottom falls out for the Central Division. Godspeed. All right. We come now to our first and only interconference matchup coming up this week, and that is the Senators going up against the Terror. This is a polar opposite. Senators are tied for fourth at the bottom of the global division. Terror, at the moment, 7-4, currently the number one title contender. Now, Terror is going to have to win this one to possibly walk away as the number one seed. And I think they will. I'm going to give this one to the Terror by 10. I love my fingers. Operational fingers. Finger alarm. So we have them going on because the Terror are going to need this win more because not only do they want to get that division crown, they are also going up against the B-Waxes, the only team that can catch them at this point. So Terror is going to be more motivated. Senators have got to win to stay alive. I don't like their chances. So Terror over Senators by 10. Leading up to what could be the most important match of the season for these two teams, the Eden Extractors going up against the High-Dye Hangman. Okay, both of these teams are towards the bottom tiers of the global. The Extractors are currently the number 3 seed with a record of 3-8. The Hangmen are tied for the 4th seed with the Senators coming in at 2-8-1. So what this leads to in the global division, it doesn't seem like much now, but considering that we have playoff ramifications at stake, the Extractors win this one, they're in the playoffs. Hands down on the desk. I'm not slamming my hands on the desk because I have a crappy stand here. Thanks for the hundreds of pennies of budget, Jimmy. The Extractors are in a position where if they win one game over the next 2 weeks, they're in regardless of what happens. And the two teams they're facing on, this week it's the Hangmen, next week it's the Senators. And both Hangmen and Senators are in must-win situations. So Extractors, congratulate yourselves, even though this whole damn league is a flaming wreck heading into a dumpster fire. At least you're behind the wheel on this one. Extractors over Hangmen, 5 points. Now you see why I don't operate the puppet this week. No time for this kind of crap. So, here's where we're standing right now. I'm taking the A-Holes over the Slaughterhouse because the A-Holes on the number 1 seed and the Slaughterhouse on the number 2 seed, they're in the playoffs. Enough said. We're going to go with the Thunder and the B-Waxes, who Thunder is number 4, B-Waxes are number 2. Depending on what happens this week, either one of them could wind up moving up or down the ladder. I can't pick that one, so it's a no pick, even money. Roughnecks and Snakektopus. Snakektopus is more desperate at 5-6-1 than the Roughnecks, who are 6-5. And the Snakektopus being in a must-win, I think that's going to make them desperate and susceptible to mistakes. And Roughnecks are a little bit more driven to get that elusive Super Bowl trophy. Roughnecks over Snakektopus, 11 points. We move to the Senators and the Terror. This one's one-sided as it gets. Terror is currently number 1 in Central. Senators tied for 4th. Senators are in dire straits, one more loss, and they could be right out of the whole thing. But even with that said, Terror still is the far superior team, 10 points. And finally, we're going with Extractors and Hangmen. Both are towards the bottom. If the Extractors win just one game over the next 2 weeks, they're in. Hangmen are fighting for their very lives. So at this point, I'm going to give it to the Extractors by 5. So hopefully this helps make sense of the topsy-turvy that is the BPFFL in 2019. It's madness. It's insanity. Hopefully next week things will simmer down enough to the point where your regularly scheduled, friendly, kid-loving host. I was about to say a cuss word. I'm not going to cuss. Not going to cuss on this stupid damn fantasy football show. It's not going to happen. See you next week. Whee! I still do the stupid stuff. Whee! Whoop, 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 whoop. Whoop.